This work session regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5, the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 12, 2017. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. We will stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by invocation by Councilman Ted Chase. Flag of the United States.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Madam Master Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois.
Councilwoman Clogs.
Here. Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Here.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Here.
Councilman Vasanel.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Wright.
We are now on to item number 5, commendations and proclamations. I do not see the person who is here for the Direct Support Professionals Week, so I'll move that to the back. Suicide Awareness Week. Someone here to accept the proclamation for Suicide Awareness Week? Alice. Thank you, Alice. Councilwoman Robinson will.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me now? Proclamation. Whereas suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States and the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 15 to 34. And whereas each person's death by suicide affects at least 6 other people with over 200,000 newly bereaved each year. And whereas suicide is the 12th leading cause of death overall in New Jersey, on average, one person dies by suicide every 11 hours in this state. And whereas more than twice as many people die by suicide in New Jersey than by homicide, and whereas many of those people who died never received effective behavioral health services for many reasons, including the difficulty of accessing services by healthcare providers trained in best practices to reduce suicide risk, the stigma of using behavioral health treatment, and the stigma associated with losing a loved one to suicide. And whereas far too many in New Jersey die by suicide each year, and most of these deaths are preventable. Now, therefore, I, Philip Kramer, Mayor, on behalf of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, do hereby designate September 10th through 16th as Suicide Prevention Week in the Township of Franklin. We join with the Franklin Township Municipal Alliance for the Prevention of Substance Abuse in creating community awareness and urge all residents to learn how they can help because suicide prevention is everyone's business. Signed September 12, 2017, Philip Kramer, Mayor.
Thank you. My name is Alice Osipowitz. I'm Director of Parks and Recreation and Chairperson for the Municipal Alliance. I want to thank Mayor and Council for recognizing the importance of the need for suicide prevention. And I'd just like to say that the Alliance today has supported a program in Franklin Township Public Schools for teachers. And I was at the training today, and there were actually 50 teachers in the room. This is the day before school starts, and there was another session in the afternoon on mindfulness training. So essentially what we're hoping is that to give teachers some training in what mindfulness techniques are, so then they can maybe bring it back to their classroom and share that with children. So it will help them deal with stressful situations and also helps them to focus and hopefully do better in school. So that is part of our effort this season. Thank you.
Turn it back into the hands of the mayor.
So, thank you, Ms. Sipowicz. Thank you, Robinson. The next item is National Recovery Month, and Councilman Vasanella will be.
Okay, I'm going to just read the main paragraph here at bottom, and Alice, I know there's a couple things you wanted to mention about this, but because it's an extremely lengthy one, if that's okay, unless there was a certain part you'd like to highlight, we can. It is a proclamation and sponsored by Allison, our Health Recreation Department. Okay. I'm going to just read the first and last paragraph. It's an extremely long proclamation. Like I said, she's going to mention a couple of the highlights of what this is about. Whereas National Recovery Month is a national observance held each September to educate Americans that substance use treatment and mental health services can enable those with a mental and or substance use disorder live a healthy and rewarding life. And now, therefore, I, James Vasanella, on behalf of Mayor Philip Kramer and the Franklin Township Council, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2017 as National Recovery Month in Franklin Township and call upon the people of Franklin to support the Join the Voices for Recovery, Strengthen Families and Communities movement, which highlights the value of peer support in educating, mentoring, and helping others. The theme also invites individuals in recovery and their support systems to be catalysts and active change agents in communities and in civic and advocacy engagements. It also encourages individuals to start conversations about the prevention, treatment, and recovery of behavioral health conditions at earlier stages of life. Remember that prevention works, treatment is effective, and people recover. And just before I hand the microphone over, I know it has to do with the one we just heard about, but when you hear that statistic that, if I heard it right, 2 people every single day in New Jersey alone commit suicide, that's 2 people too many. And I'm sure many of us have been touched by that unfortunate event at some point of our life of somebody we know. So those are 2, as important as this proclamation is and what we're going to hear about this. If you ever see a situation that you could help avoid one of those 2 needless deaths that happen every day in this state, please take action. Thank you.
Again, on behalf of the Alliance, we'd like to thank you for recognizing the importance of Recovery Month. And we really want to thank everyone who lends hope, help, and healing to those in our community who are facing mental health issues and substance abuse issues. And we feel that it's really important to draw attention to and try to all look at reducing the stigma associated with recovery. I think with the heroin epidemic that this the state and the nation is facing, there's going to be so many more people in recovery, and those people need to be able to function in society and need the support of everyone to help them get back on their feet. One of the things that I forgot to mention before, too, is in addition to the program for the teachers that we're offering, in October, on October 30th at Franklin Middle School, we've invited Detective Tom Rich, who is a cybersecurity expert, who's made presentations to over 1 million people in the United States. And he's, we're bringing him in to talk to parents about the issues around cybersecurity and helping to prevent the tragedies that some of our young people are facing when they're being bullied, either in school or online. So he'll be providing tips for parents to help them control their child's digital footprint and to use teachable moments to help keep them safe. And between mental health issues, the depression, substance abuse, and bullying that goes on, they're all interrelated. So we're, as an alliance, we're looking at trying to cover a wide variety of topics and prevention for parents, teachers, students, and the community at large. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Osipowitz and Councilman Vasanella. The next item are commendations regarding the 4th of July celebration 2017. Councilman Deputy Mayor Carl Wright.
I'm loving you, Bill. For all of you who don't know, Bill's my brother here. Okay.
From another mother.
Commendation to Brother Bill Grippo for 4th of July, and he's been doing it every year, and every year it gets bigger, bigger, and bigger. And with Bill Grippo running it, we've seen this turn into a real monster. People come from all over the place because our 4th of July is big. Between the fireworks, between the sound stage and all the entertainment you have, he brings in vendors. We started out with a couple of acorns, and then we just started flowing. Everybody wants to come in. What do we have? Hamburger hot dogs from one. We had, what is that, caramel popcorn? Oh, Alice, yeah. Miss Osipowitz, she's in on this too. So I just want to thank you for pulling this off for us, and I want you to keep on doing it because it shows that Franklin knows how to do it right, and you help us do it right. Commendation. Whereas William Bill Grippo has served this community as his chairman of the 4th of July Celebration Committee since 2010 and has been an enthusiastic and hardworking member of our community. And whereas without Bill's tireless fundraising efforts, of which we know very good, you are all right with that, the township would not be able to provide a 4th of July celebration at no cost to its taxpayers. Whereas Bill has earned the respect and admiration of everyone with whom he has come into contact by his wholehearted and dedicated spirit he has for our community. And now, therefore, I, Bill Kramer, Mayor, on behalf of the Township Council of Franklin Township, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, extend our heartfelt appreciation and sincere thanks to Bill Grippo for his valuable service and dedication to our citizens and our community. Signed, Philip Kramer, Mayor, September the 12th, 2017. And he'll pay me later for the...
So first I wanted to thank Alice for the work that she does in our school system with the SAC and the prevention of suicide. I was at the workshops today, and teachers are really getting a lot out of it, Alice. And if we save just one life of our kids, all your work is worth it. So all the years you've been doing this is just amazing. So that leads me into the big thank you. The 4th of July, I might be the locomotive, but the locomotive goes nowhere without all the cars and all the things that make it happen. And I'm so happy that this is the first year that I've been recognized, that we have two of the people who are really the locomotives under the leadership of Bob Vornlacher. And that's Alice Osipowitz. If you would stand, Alice, and Safi Kalan. Safi, their staff with Public Works, and I don't want to leave anyone out, with Bruce Medley Bruce Medley coordinates all the food vendors, and Alice just is so helpful with, just putting all the pieces together. And Safi picked it up this year for the first time. So I could never do all the details. I'm just a visionary, and I could never do it without Bob's staff. So I just want to make that very clear, and the support of council year after year. This year was very unique. First of all, it was the biggest crowd in history. Right, Saf? I didn't even know where you were all night. We couldn't find anybody. The entertainment was great. Second, it was a great night. It was the night before the 4th, the 3rd, and hope the council could approve that again for next year. And third, the weather was absolutely perfect. It was just a perfect night. But without the help of our sponsors, and that's why I come tonight, each one of them will receive a commendation. We'll breathe over the minutes of the council, and the clerk will mail the commendation to them. But here are 24 of our donors, and I really do have to read it because they deserve to be read into the minutes. Appraisal Consultants, Akari Ivano Architects, Briar Manor Developers, Carroll Engineering, CMA Associates, CompoSecure, Dennis Osiello, Fancy Heat Corporation, Frank and Mary Jane Semser, Franklin Reporter and Advocate, and Bill is here tonight, Green Hill Manor Villa, Hodgelick and Morrison, House Foods, Joy Systems, Inc., Ken and Renee Kaufman, Pecan Manufacturing, Praise Presbyterian Church, Lou Renault, Shane Schaefer Raffaello, SHI International, The Palace was very generous this year at Somerset Park. They were all very generous. The Reynolds Group, Trop Rock, they've been with us as long as the rock's in town. Venus Jewelers. So these are the people who make it happen, folks. Yesterday was the saddest day in American history. And on the 4th of July, the reason why these people give money is I try to express in the letter that this is a community's expression of freedom. And it's not just hot dogs, it's not just fireworks, it's a community that comes together to express its freedom. And we just had a wonderful celebration. Thank you, Council, for allowing it to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grippo, and I agree with you. Alice and Safi put their soul into these things. They are dedicated to the town, as are you. I still don't see the person here for the Direct Support Professionals Week, so I shall read it in brief. Whereas Direct Support Professionals, direct care workers, and in-home support workers are primary providers of publicly funded long-term supports and services for individuals and disabilities, and whereas direct support professionals provide a broad range of individual support to help enable individuals to live meaningful and productive lives, therefore, I, Philip Kramer, Mayor of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim this period between September 10th, 2011 and September 10th, 2017 and September 16th, 2017, a Direct Support Professionals Week in the Township of Franklin. Excuse my error. We are now on to public discussion. Do we have a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion on that. All in favor of opening the meeting for public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are open for public discussion. 5 minutes apiece. Due to a technical error, we do not have the timer that will give a 2-minute warning. There will be a timer that will go off at 5 minutes. People may only speak once, no yielding of time. Please state your name and address, and as a courtesy, Freeholder Levine, I notice you are here. Would you like to go first? Or you would just be a member of the people and come up as you please? Freeholder Levine declines. Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Come right up. You don't need me to acknowledge you. Just come on up.
Sure. Shouldn't come up. Good evening, Mr. Mayor Kramer and the members of the council and the members of the community. Last year, I think it was around this time, I came before you again to be presented the proclamation because we were the only school, public charter school, in the state of New.
Did you state your name and
No,
address?
I'm sorry, I think I failed it. I was so excited about my speech, so I'll do that. I'm surgeon, principal at Central Jersey College Prep Charter School. I reside at 1 Burnham Street, Somerset, New Jersey, 08873.
Did you say your name again slowly? for the
Namik
clerk?
Surgeon, Namiksercan.
Perhaps we can give him 10 additional seconds. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. Again, we were presented the Blue Ribbon proclamation for the Blue Ribbon Award. We were the only charter school in the entire state of New Jersey. We're so proud of that. This year, I am here before you once again to share a very good news, and we're very excited about it. And as you may be aware, we've been working on our new facility on Metlers Road, 101 Metlers Road. It's now complete, and we moved in yesterday. And we're going to start our school year tomorrow. Tomorrow is our first day. I'd like to invite you to our grand opening ceremony that will take place on October 10 at 10 o'clock. And I know many of you have been to our old facility. Would love to see you all present, and our Commissioner of Education has confirmed attending. And our parents will be very excited about seeing you in the event. It's going to be a great event. Please join us. It's October 10 at 10 o'clock. It's very hard to forget, 10, 10, 10. So, and please join us on that day. My community outreach director, Ms. Sibi, is going to give you an invitation. I saw Mayor Kramer outside, and I got to talk to him. I'm very glad, and Mr. Prasad and Mr. Wright. And please mark your calendar. We would be very honored with your attendance. And I'm sure our community, our parents and students will be very excited about that too. And I don't want to take your time anymore. I appreciate the opportunity to extend the invitation. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Wow.
Linda Powell, 22 Buffer Drive. I have a couple things I want to thank people for. First of all, I wanted to thank Alec Karazi for organizing the vigil to reject any form of racism, hate, and bigotry, and reaffirm our commitment for unity and solidarity, which was held on August 20th. And thank Father Doug for opening up St. Matthias Church for the community to attend. And for those of you who spoke, Freeholder Levine, Councilwoman Robinson, Mayor Kramer, and I don't know if there's anyone else here who was speaking at the time. I was very glad that we could all get together as a community and celebrate our unity. And I feel like tonight was another night. I want to thank Councilman Prasad for organizing the memorial, and thank Manager Vornlacher for creating the memorial. And I also want to thank the council as a whole and a lot of people in the township for being so environmentally progressive. And remind people that there's going to be a meeting. It's really a combined meeting that's supported by our township and South Brunswick this Thursday from 6:30 to 8:30. If you do come late, you'll still get the program, but you'll miss some of the elected officials who may be speaking. So please try to come. The location was changed. Originally, it was going to be at South Brunswick High School. It's going to be at the Senior Center at 540 Ridge Road in Monmouth Junction, which is part of South Brunswick, New Jersey 08852. And again, this is about stopping the compressor gas station. It'll be an informational meeting where we'll get updates on the process and how we can participate. And there'll be speakers from Sierra Club, Food and Water Watch, Rethink Energy NJ, and a few other of the environmental organizations. And basically, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir.
Just one other thing I wanted to say. I'm sure this will come up. At the Franklin Day Festival, we will have a table there, so come over and check us out. There'll be another table where we'll be providing information on Know Your Rights for immigrants and other people in our country. So we'll be next to each other, so come over and check us out.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Zelnick and council members. My name is John DeSantos, and I live at 5 Layered Terrace. And my comment today has to do with the RSP service ID number 729-135. I'm here to express my family's concerns about the work which is being proposed for the Layered Terrace stormwater basin. This detention basin borders my property and that of 5 other families. Our concerns are listed in a letter which is part of a package that I will be giving to the council tonight. This package includes my July 11, 2017 response to a legal notification I received from Princeton Hydro on July 1st, 2017. The notification informed me and several other neighbors that Franklin Township and the New Jersey Water Supply Authority filed an online application with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Division of Land Use Regulation, to make major changes to the basin. The proposed modifications involve the jackhammering and removing the concrete low-flow channels, replacement of mowed grass with native meadow vegetations, which I presume this means planting of wild weeds, and rototilling of the ground surface of the detention basin, possible regrading of the lower portion of the basin using heavy machinery such as bulldozers, excavators, and graders. As of today, we have not had a response to our letter sent to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, copies of which were also sent to the New Jersey Water Supply Authority, Franklin Township engineer Thomas Zilnek, and Princeton Hydro. Briefly, our concerns are as follows. If the project is approved, for how long will this work be ongoing? And how much noise and disruption will the use of this heavy machinery cause? And what is the potential impact of this work on the possibility of increased flooding of our basements? And will the increased height of the vegetation impede proper inspection of the outlet structure and other fixtures? And will the project, in effect, change the nature of the pond from a detention basin to a retention basin? The basin currently recedes at a good rate when it becomes saturated or when it fills with any type of rainfall. The height of the vegetation will also promote new problems for our property and the neighborhood, such as mosquito breeding, ticks, snakes, rodents, and other creatures, or even mold from an extended moisture. And the other concern is what is the possible negative impact on both the value and the marketability of our home, both during and after this work. And most importantly, we would like to hear something from someone in the government. I don't know whether or not the council has been apprised of any of this, but I do have a package, and I will leave it here because it contains all of the information that I have, and perhaps the council can help me understand a little bit more what is being planned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are you able to?
I think Councilman Chase is probably more appropriate to answer any questions at this time. He's far more familiar with this project than I am.
Thanks. I mean, I haven't heard anything about this project.
Well, this is the New Jersey Water Supply Authority with the detention basins, the same project that's included in the Middlebush Park detention basin. It's to turn the detention basins into a more natural.
Now, I can give a general
That's what I'm talking about.
description of why this is done. Essentially, if you have more vegetation in the basin, it doesn't necessarily keep the water there any longer, but it tends to absorb any pollution, such as runoff from the street, on the plants, and so the water going out of it is purer. And I know there's a justification for removing the low flow channels. I've read about it so long ago I've forgotten just what it is, but there is reason. And also it reduces the total runoff because more vegetation, plants are always taking water up out of the ground and then releasing it through their leaves, trees especially, but even grass and smaller plants will do this. But if it's taller grass rather than tightly mown grass, it will do more of this. And this will actually, I think, remove water from the basin faster than at present, because it will not just be running out, it'll be transpiring up through the vegetation. And we often recommend landscaping when we get a proposal for a new detention basin in now. We're happy to see if the shrubs or wet tolerant trees planted around the edges, because again their roots will take water up out of the basin and transpire it. So, but I certainly don't know anything as to about how long this will take, or how much noise it will be. The township engineer would be the person who would know more about that. I wouldn't think it'll take long. But believe me, this is to make the detention basin work better.
Well, thank you. Excuse me, Madam Clerk, was time up yet, or? Sorry, sir. Limited to 5. So I would start with Mr. Zelnick, and we would.
And if you have things, you can just give them to the clerk, and if there's any documents that you want them to be made aware of, you can give it to the clerk.
How about, do I have can I ask just a question?
We're limited to 5 minutes. If perhaps Mr.
You can ask me a question. They'll keep talking. You come over and talk to me.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
All right, Benjamin Guy, 35 Patton Drive. Just want to publicly want to thank a couple of people on behalf of Week of the People. That we had our community event on August 26th. The community actually for supporting the police department and the PBA for actually supporting and actually doing giving out supporting the initiative to give out book bags to the community before kids actually start school, which for some of the school kids, they start tomorrow. So there's going to be traffic for everybody that's out there, so just be aware of that. And also the town council, and specifically Ken Daly for actually supporting the initiative, actually coordinating with Naaman Williams' family to actually do a public dedication if everybody was not there for the naming rights for that park. And actually, there's a rock there that is set in remembrance of Naaman Williams himself. So if you haven't seen it, please come by the park and actually see that. It's a beautiful exhibit of the community and actually a history of what that park looks like at all. So I want to make sure that everybody was aware of that publicly, and thank everybody that supported between St. Peter's Medical, Procures, everybody else that was sponsors that were actually contributed to, and the council for actually helping us out with actually putting everything together for the dedication that was there. The other thing that I wanted to actually just ask about is that because of the activities that are going on with the kids in the park, just Middlebush project with the I guess the concession stand. I know that one of the other gentlemen is going to come up and ask that question also. So just where are we with that project itself? Also with the economic development report, since the actual I guess liaison that actually coordinated the report, when is that actually going to be available to the public? So that was another other thing that I was just going to ask. And then one of the last questions was that this year, since we're just starting off a late start with the Board of Ed and everything else, has any specific meetings been going on with the Board of Ed behind the scenes about between the council or of any updates that are going on in the community itself? Any specific projects? Because I know they're still working on the construction project for the middle school. I mean, for the new middle school that's coming about. But is there any other updates that we should know about as a public entity as far as joint meetings that are having on between the council and Board of Ed to start off the year? So those are my specific questions, and that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Mr. Tibbs.
Thanks much. Johnny's Tibbs. I need you to put a registration. Johnny's Tibbs, 25 Parkside. First of all, I had a note here. It says, Alex, my best regards to you and your interfaith council. While I had a previous commitment out of town, hope that my absence did not diminish my sole commitment to your event. Please include me in your future gala events. Thank you very much for inviting me. That was for you, Alex. I had a note here. And now, the gentleman spoke about the Week of the People. I want to thank the event and the people for the Week of the People and the dedication of the Naaman Williams Monument. And I have committed myself to taking care of that park. That's one thing I forgot to tell some of the people at the park, that I've already committed myself in terms of the community utilizing the park and keeping any type of drugs or misuse out of the park. I've committed myself to doing that job in terms of cars running away, of anybody abusing the privileges in the park. And you can depend on me for taking care of that particular thing. I also want to thank Ms. Kimberly Francois, Councilman, for the proclamation that you gave to Mr. Cartledge and to Mr. Ralph Tyus in terms of community individuals that spent a lot of time in that park. And we helped to build that park back in the Scott days. We even had a thing out there, and I want to thank you for that. And over the summer, I want you guys to understand, every time I come here, I talk about the kids, the at-risk kids, and how bad we need jobs and so forth. There's something for the kids to do. I can understand the proclamation for the gas thing that we supported the lady here for, and all the other things that you do in the community, but we lost 3 kids' lives this summer. We lost 3 kids' lives this summer, all right? And they were alive when I first started talking about the job that we need for the kids for the summer. They were alive when I first started talking about it. Matter of fact, I know she don't want me to mention this, but my lovely Miss Councilman Sherman gave one of the kids a bicycle, the first bicycle she ever had. Her name was Shamari Roberts. And it was a girl's bicycle, and she was one of the kids that was killed 2 weeks ago. So it shows the closeness of the community that we have with you guys, and I thank you very much for the love that Councilman Sherman showed towards the community. We now have, of course we have now the JFK Club, which we are part of. We have the month of September is a voter registration drive. So hopefully anybody here that's a part of JFK Club will go out and support the voter registration wherever you see young kids between the ages of 18 and over to get them to register. And anybody that you know to tell them to go register. For the month of September is the voter registration drive for the JFK Club. The clinic, I don't want you guys to forget about the arguments that I had about your contract with the Somerset County Health Department. There's a group of dedicated medical people who want to start a clinic down at 5935 Hampton Street. I've told you guys 3 times. They're going to support all of the seniors in that particular area. They want to have a free clinic. And I think that you, as council people, should get on that as soon as possible. Let that happen instead of wasting your money in the county government. All right. My name is Mr. Tibbs. My name is Mr. Tibbs. Whereas I have a complete plan for the Black Lives Matter across this country. I want you to understand that all lives matter to me. But I'm dedicated to Black Lives Matter. Young black men that's dying every day because they have no guidance and they have no plan. I have a plan for them. Starting today, tonight. Number one, that every community in this country starts a community relations bureau, a police community relations bureau, where the community will relate to the police department, and therefore you've already stopped shooting each other. As you relate to each other, you will shoot each other less. Very prominent and necessary. Number two, that every community develop a work training program for the young kids in the community, in the minority communities. They need work. They need to be trained how to work. They do not know how to work when they get out of high school. And between the ages of 18 to 22, the only thing they're going to do is sell drugs and go to jail or kill somebody. If the town communities develop a work training facility in that town, you won't have that problem that you have right now. That's for Black Lives Matter. Number three, and most important, that they enter the military service as soon as they get out of high school. If they do not have no job, they go into the military service where they can be trained for career positions and to service this country.
Mr. Tibbs, your time is up.
That quick?
5 minutes.
Yes, sir. And I think that is it for me. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tibbs. Anyone wishing to speak?
Good evening, all. Bill Connell, 25 Spring Street. Mr. Guy, you had asked a question about the Board of Ed cooperating with the with these people. The Recreation Council, thank you. The Recreation Department worked with the school district just this summer, I believe, to do some sort of tutoring program. I thought that was excellent. That's a good sign. That's, just a good thing to do. It's a great use of assets. Councilman Wright, 4th Ward Councilman. Okay. How are you, sir? Excellent. I see tonight Spring Street is being paved. And I have to say, it's been almost 20 years, if not more, since the road was paved, and it really was actually a pretty good job. I mean, it's time to be repaved, and I appreciate that, and I hope you vote on that tonight. But at the corner of Lake and Spring, okay, there is a sewer main, or sewer thing.
Catch basin?
Catch basin. Is that what that is?
The catch basin?
No,
where the stormwater goes down?
Catch basin's
a
on the
manhole?
Yeah, manhole. But it's about 3-4 inches under the pavement. And I would love to see that smoothed out when it's paved.
They should get raised to meet the surface.
Okay, but I'm going to hold Councilman Wright personally responsible, and I would like a picture of him lying in the middle of the road with a micrometer to measure, to make sure it's level, that along with the other manholes. That is your job.
Bill, I got you covered.
Okay, excellent.
Mr. Vornlocker?
Okay.
I'm on it.
I'm on. Hope so. There you go.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Mr. Vornlocker, will you please pull that item from the agenda? Thank you. Anyone
It's
else?
funny, he told me about 2 months ago that it really didn't need to be done, and I thought we were pulling it, but no, we'll let it happen now.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Mayor, seeing no one else come forward, a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
Seconded.
Moved in, seconded, seeing no discussion on that. All in favor of closing public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. And now on to the council committee reports. We shall start with Councilman Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Human Relations Commission did meet and has provided input into the Youth Community Center and is actively involved in that, helping Councilwoman Francois, who's been doing a great job on that. And the administration and the Community Foundation and land use have not met, so we have nothing to report on that. And I want to thank everybody for the participation in the 9/11 ceremony, and Mr. Grippo and Deputy Mayor Carl Wright for their efforts on the 4th of July fireworks, and for everyone. The Franklin Day Festival is on September 23rd, Saturday, from 12 to 5, and let us all be there and enjoy each other and what Franklin has to offer. The Buddhist temple with the largest Buddha in the Western Hemisphere on Route 27 will be having a groundbreaking on the 16th of September, Saturday, from 3 to 6 p.m., and please turn out for it. The hurricane relief, both in Texas and Florida, urge you all to donate and help our fellow citizens. And of course, the compressor meeting that is on Thursday, September 14th, from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Senior Community Center in South Brunswick. So with that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. Councilwoman Chanel Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I attended Week of the People, and it was actually a great turnout and a great event showing unity in the community, as well as the dedication of Naaman Williams Park and the memorial. Great job to all those involved. I am all too familiar with the calamities of hurricanes and tornadoes, as I was raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, and have many friends and family who were impacted by Katrina, who then moved to Houston and now have been negatively impacted and displaced by Hurricane Harvey. And I'm originally born in Florida, so I still have family members in Florida that were impacted by Irma. So I just want everyone to keep them in your prayers. Also, that we stay vigilant here in Franklin Township, as we have seen with Irene and Sandy. And just because it's been a few years, I think our emergency management system, we need to make sure things are intact and in place, and I'm sure that they are. But sometimes we get complacent when there's nothing happening, and we have to make sure we review our emergency management as well as letting the public know and aware of those things that have transpired since Sandy, things that have changed and improved since Sandy and Irene, as well as people who are new to the town, some of the ways that they can get information during emergency situations, as well as resources. So I just wanted to put that out there. And then to that end, I am working with a group of gentlemen, and it's a joint effort between Somerset and Middlesex County under my direction, as well as the other three gentlemen. Community advocate Tormel Pittman, New Brunswick City Council President Glenn Fleming, and philanthropist Ashton Burrell from Highland Park. We will be collecting items through the end of the month of September to be delivered to Houston. In those items, there are 2 drop-off locations here in Franklin Township. One is Community Fire Company Station 25, and that address is 710 Hamilton Street. And we will be collecting items Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And at New Trends Barbershop, 563 Somerset Street, Tuesday through Saturday, 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. And some of the items needed are toiletries, cleaning supplies, clothing, no winter clothes, please, non-perishable food items, and first aid supplies. I will see if we can make this information available to the public so you know specifically what items we are looking for. Again, we're collecting items through the end of September, and the items will be taken to Houston the week of, and for delivery for October 5th. Oftentimes, people are in a hurry to get items, but if they're not there to receive them, or they haven't been back in their homes to be able to rebuild and regroup, we tend to forget. So let us not forget those that have been displaced and impacted. I did not make the last fire prevention meeting, so I'll leave that to whoever on council made it to the meeting. As well as Housing Authority will be meeting on tomorrow. So, and I'm looking forward to Franklin Day Festival on September 23rd. Yay! So that's all that I have at this time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Chase.
Yeah, I've been attending a number of meetings, for instance, Central Jersey Transportation Forum, which meets quarterly, concerned with transportation issues in the Mercer, Somerset, Middlesex area. And at the last meeting last week, some students from Rutgers, the Blaustein School, made a presentation of some recommendations for improved bus routes, mainly in and around Franklin. Of course, these are just suggestions. The hard part is getting bus companies to actually carry these out, but I meant to bring copies of their presentation tonight, but I didn't, but I'll get some to the manager. Because I think one of the problems both of our corporate business area and manufacturing zone west of that, and also of housing, the Summerfield's housing, is lack of public transportation. And I think that it would be very encouraging to getting more business there, and also providing, especially for low-income residents at Summerfields, if we had more public transportation there. So I hope we can press to realize some of these suggestions that were made. This morning I was at a Sustainable Somerset meeting, which is really a subsidiary of Somerset Business Partnership. What we heard about this morning was more about the county planning department's priority investment areas, but also especially of the county looking for more open space and especially farmland to preserve. But I got a couple of flyers. One that right, October 26th, that's a Thursday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., third annual Workplace Health and Wellness Expo, Better Health Equals Better Business, a health fair with health screenings and interactive and educational exhibits and so forth, presented by Somerset County Business Partnership in collaboration with Healthier Somerset and Franklin Township Chamber of Commerce, and this will be at the Imperia 1714 Eastern Avenue, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on October 26th. And it's free, complimentary admission and parking. And then Johnson & Johnson is putting on a one-day course which they call Ignite the Power of Human Energy. And it's not to, although they talk about it as if it were improving athletic performance, it's really designed for employees to deal with pressure better and not get fatigued and generally energize them. Now this costs $175 per person for the one-day course, but Mike Kerwin of the business partnership grabbed me and suggested that I suggest to Manager Vornlacher that he send at least one employee to this, who then could stimulate others in the among our township employees. Another meeting I go to is the Middlesex County Water Resource Association, which may sound strange for me going from Franklin, but what they principally are concerned with is wastewater, sewage. And our sewage goes to the Middlesex County Utilities Authority treatment plant in Sayreville. So every once in a while things come up that are of importance to Franklin, and I'm there to represent us. It used I've often remarked that if we ever wanted to change our sewer service area, which in general we don't, that not only would we have to have the approval of the planning board, the council, Somerset County Planning, Somerset County Freeholders, but because it goes to Middlesex County Utilities Authority, the Middlesex Water Resources Association, the Middlesex County Planning Board, the Middlesex County Freeholders, and finally, of course, the Department of Environmental Protection, all of which is supposed to daunt anybody who wants to develop at high density land which is not currently sewered. And their meeting yesterday actually was principally concerned with new procedures for amending the county-wide wastewater management plan. And of course, Somerset County has an equivalent plan, and we deal with Somerset County Planning Board for that. So I think I've taken enough time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Councilwoman Sherman. Mixing things up here, skipping to.
Well, you caught me unprepared, almost.
Just wanted to wake people up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of brief things before I get to the main subject of tonight, for me anyway. I did attend a program at Spring Hills for National Assisted Living Week, and the theme was Family is Forever. And it works for those who have family who they can still depend on, and the family that they have come to love in these assisted living facilities. So I was delighted to be asked to come and presented them with a proclamation. With regard to the question Mr. Guy posed on the Economic Development Report, it will be approved tonight. It's on the consent agenda. Once council has approved it, it will be made available to the public. So this was a timely moment to be asking that question. And I'm so glad that Councilwoman Robinson reminded me about the Franklin Day Festival. I might have forgotten about it. Wow. This is it, guys. You're not going to hear about it from me again until next year. Or at least afterward, I'll tell you what happened. So, September 23rd, next Saturday, Colonial Park from 12 until 5. There are plenty of banners around to remind you and signs on the road to remind you. And I have great optimism that we will have a beautiful day and we'll have somewhere around 12 to 15,000 people. We did 10 to 12 last year. Word has gotten out even more. We even were in the Star Ledger, their festival listing in their ticket centerfold. So we are ascending the ladder of becoming a well-established, well-known festival. To entice you, let me give you a quick, brief, it's almost hard to make it brief, list of what we have awaiting you. Everything for the children at this event is free. And just to give you a little idea, it's pony rides, it's bouncy houses, it's paddle boats, mini golf, it's face painting, it's we have an aerialist this year to entertain not just the children, it's bubble soccer. It's so many things. We still have more probably coming. Oh, and the climbing wall, I wanted to mention that. And the balloon guy who makes balloons, all for free. So bring your children and bring your grandchildren and let them enjoy a day that they'll be in a little bit of a magic environment. Everything is there for them. So we also have 20 food trucks this year. That has grown considerably since we first started. We have a car show with about 30 cars and over 100 exhibitors. Now, none of this could have happened without the extraordinary support of the people here in the township who work with this, as well as the donors and the sponsors who have contributed to this event. So it is for Franklin. It is supported by Franklin businesses and Franklin employees, but it is a gift to the Township of Franklin from the Township of Franklin. So I hope to see you all there on September 23rd. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Charles Onichaka.
Okay, Mayor. First of all, I want to use this privilege to thank Dr. Alex Karati for all he has been doing in Franklin, in promoting diversity and at the same time kicking against bigotry. Not only the last one we attended, but he has been championing this cause. And it gives me joy, to see him doing all this. And as we all notice that this has been going on in the United States. And he has been against it, kicking against it, talking against it, bringing individuals together to speak, kick against bigotry. So I use this privilege to thank him and also to tell him anywhere he needs help, I'm ready to help. Thank you, Dr. Alex. And secondly, today's a 9/11 memorial service was very, very touching to me. I remember that that year I got a job in the World Trade Center. And in fact, I was preparing to go for that appointment. And I went there that day, and I had another appointment the next day. I couldn't go before that thing happened. So it was very, very touchy to me today. And I don't have much to say, only to say that it just looked to me like it happened yesterday. And I'm calling the Almighty, may the souls of the departed, the souls we lost, let them live with our Lord. And we pray that such a thing will not happen again in the United States or any part of the world. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Kimberly Francois.
I think it's already been said, but I'd like to also reiterate to thank all the people that worked on the Week of the People event in particular Mr. Von Locker, for designing the plaque with Ken Daly, Detective Ken Daly. It was a beautiful event, the dedication to the Neiman Williams Park. Thank the family for coming out. I think it was a very special day for them. They had a family reunion. It was well attended. I think the Franklin Police Department was also there supporting, and we could not have had such a nice event without the people that came out to participate. So I just want to thank everybody on the Week of People Committee, and also Bob and Detective Ken Daly for all their work on making that event happen. Now we're moving forward, working on the next event, which happens to be the Youth Planning Forum on October 3rd for the Youth Center, Franklin Youth Center. And that will be held on October 3rd at 6:30, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at First Baptist Church, and we're planning to have all youth at that event. We want to hear from the youth. We want to hear what they would like to see in their youth center. So it's a youth planning forum for the youth. And then we're also moving forward and working on the trunk or treat event. The Hamilton Street Marketing Committee is working on the trunk or treat event, and we've started planning on that, and that's going to be on October 28th from 1 to 6 p.m. at John's Plaza. So we're looking backward and we're looking forward. There's a lot of things going on here in Franklin Township for our youth. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman James Vasanella.
Thank you. And the haunted house, like the Franklin Day and all these events, are just getting bigger and more popular. And I'm smiling because we become a victim of our own success. And the more popular they become, the more planning and work needs to go into it, but they're well worth it. And just a quick reflection, Neiman Williams, a lot was mentioned about that. It was a rededication. And I stress that because it's 35 years, I think it was.
35 years, yes.
Yes, I know Mr. Vorlacher was involved. You were around the first one. I don't know. That was a little bit before you got on the force, but
Just a little bit before, yeah.
not
much, but
no, I know.
3 years before.
Real quick, Neiman Williams was a lot of things to a lot of people.
He was a legend.
And we learned, I thought I knew, and I feel I know a lot about the history, but I learned a lot that day. And what was really neat is another generation, 35 years later, of the original dedication. Sometimes the rededication is worth its weight in gold, because another generation of kids, another generation of police officers, council people, etc., got a little insight into somebody who was really important to this town's evolution. And Neiman Williams was the first African-American officer. I believe he reached the rank of lieutenant.
He did. He was a lieutenant.
He also was the only when there was only 2 or 3 full-time police officers.
Yes, correct.
We literally were a town that big. I don't know what the exact census was. I'm going to say probably less than 20, maybe less than 10,000 when he started. So we only had a few full-time police officers. Anyway, I know a lot was said about it, but I just wanted to let people know. And the plaque there tells.
Don't forget to mention the car that was there.
Oh, well, actually, I was going to mention that. Besides honoring him, the car was a real, was 19...
So that's a 1942 Ford. It was the first police car that the town had. So the police department was formed in 1941, and they used their own cars until they were able to purchase it. Remember, during World War II, it was very difficult to purchase cars because all of the assets were being utilized by the military. And so that car actually was a military-style vehicle that the town was able to obtain in 42.
And he drove that car.
And he drove that car.
Police, and I think it was Guaranteed Motors? Or
Guaranteed Motors, Pete DiGiovanni, who passed away about a little more than a year ago, labor of love. His father's Guaranteed Motors was the car dealer who was able to obtain that vehicle in 1942. And then years later, Pete restored the vehicle back to its original condition.
And now they've taken on being the custodian of that vehicle.
They are. So his son Mark now is the one who brought it to Week of the People.
And thanks to them, and they said they'd make it available to other events at the Township like display. So anyway, I just thought I'd, seeing that 35 years later and a whole new generation of Franklinites having a glimpse into that past. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Thank you, St. Matthias, for opening their doors up to the vigil that was mentioned earlier. This week, or next week, I know Councilwoman Robinson was mentioned about the very important issue of making sure Franklin's emergency management plans are constantly reviewed, updated, and kept up to standard. We are meeting next week. They have meetings on average about 4 times a year, and one of the issues I believe we will be doing is going back and looking at the new requirements that I believe came down from the state or county. Believe specifically, well, we have to keep a lot of things up to date and improved, but I believe one was specifically about our convalescent centers, our nursing home, rehab centers, et cetera, which we have plenty in Franklin. Because if there's one thing the last month has told us is that natural disasters are out there, they're happening, and they're going to continue to happen. And fortunately, we're spared most of the time in New Jersey. We all remember Sandy and other events that make it an absolute requirement that towns are up to date on those issues, and not just up to date, looking at ways to even improve them even further. And I'll gladly share that with Councilwoman Robinson after the meeting next week. The Hamilton Street did not meet because Hamilton Street Advisory Board, because one Monday, two Mondays ago was Labor Day, of course, and this past week, I believe, well, last night was 9/11, and there was other events I believe they stepped aside to allow people to participate in. But things are moving along, and we will be meeting, I believe, in 2 or 3 Mondays from now. But the projects on Hamilton, as people know who drive down there, are excelling, and new ones are also going to be started shortly, from my understanding. Any of those who goes to the Rutgers football game, although they may not be happy with how Rutgers is doing, the improvements to Franklin Boulevard from Easton Avenue to Landon Lane Bridge were completed since the last football season, I believe earlier this past spring, and basically allows now people a safe, easy, wide route to travel for the many people who walk from anywhere, but specifically coming from the intersection of Franklin Boulevard, Easton Avenue, to make their way to the football stadium. So go Rutgers, and hopefully that will keep people safer going forward for attending any event, specifically football games. Believe that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Vasanella. Deputy Mayor, my captain, Carl Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one tiny mention here. Everyone that spoke up on it, the Week of the People. I enjoyed myself immensely. I hope everyone had a great time, because I sure did. The only thing that kind of made it kind of special, but then maybe it made me kind of wet. I sat in the dunk tank for about 40 minutes, and I want to thank everybody who's a bad shot. But it was very well worth it. I enjoyed it. I think I'll come back next year and do it again. But I think we should put Johnny Tibbs near that tank. I think we definitely would have enjoyed it. I think Bill in the background would just love to go in. But it was a worthwhile cause. Lehman Williams, the rededication of the park. On a serious note, that actually was the event. Everything else was secondary to that rededication of the park. I believe this is Animal Adoption Month. Phil, is that correct?
I don't know that.
What?
I don't know that. Every month, every day.
Every month, every day?
Is Animal Adoption Day.
I just wanted to say, I saw the signs around town. And because I saw the signs, I wanted everybody to come down and pick up a shelter animal.
Great idea.
My daughter's rabbit shelter. So we bought it. It's doing pretty good. And I just think everyone should come down and pick up an animal. It can be your best friend, and that's a good deal. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, we're done.
Thank you, my captain, Carl Wright. So for my items, first of all, happy birthday, Mom. Mom lives in Connecticut, so she won't hear that I'm saying that because she would kill me if she knew I did. She's 97.
Wow.
And this weekend, I will be going to her sister's birthday party, her 100th birthday party. My regards, thoughts to the sufferers of Hurricane Irma and Harvey. Thank you, Councilwoman Robinson, for what you're doing in that regard. Not to compete, but there is another collection going on. We don't hear about it here, but in Sierra Leone, they're having torrential rains, horrible floods, and they are also doing a collection at the East Franklin Firehouse. I have to give thanks to Mayor Levine, who stepped in before. So I have a personal emergency this weekend, and I had weddings to perform. I needed to go out of state, and he stepped in and performed the weddings for me, and I thank him for that. As long as we're on that event, I have a very dear friend who is suffering from something in my field, in medicine, and I have to be there for him at certain times. So I don't think I will miss council meetings or other things, but there may be a ribbon cutting or an opening or something that I just will not be able to attend because I will be in direct medical support of him. So my apologies in advance for missing any event I may miss. On a lighter note, not to compete with Councilwoman Sherman, but Canal Fest is October 14th, so there will be another council meeting or two between now and then, so this isn't the last you've heard of it. It's kind of a music festival in East Millstone, and it's a lot of good food that's bad for you. On October 7th, right here in this very room, I will be hosting a mayor's summit open to all elected officials, and we've decided to open it to the general public on climate change in answer to the United States pulling out of the Paris Accords. It basically will focus on things we can do locally to support or prevent or mitigate climate change. There is a nominal fee, and it will be televised and available on the web. There will be about 3 people watching who will understand this, but for them, the next Doctor Who will be a woman, and I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be, I'm looking forward to seeing how that will change the character and the plot. Another Whovian, and I think it's about time. You're one of the 3 people that understood that. And then to answer some questions from the audience, Mr. Tibbs, I understand where your heart is, and it may be in the right place about a clinic, but that's fine, but it has nothing to do with our county health department. That is a requirement that we have a health department, state requirement, and public health and personal health, while sometimes related, are not the same thing. So you're picking on the wrong organization when you bring that up, not that you're not justified in what you're bringing up. And then lastly, the BOE president and I discuss BOE matters probably on a weekly basis. The next scheduled meeting will be September 29th. And Mr. Vornlocker, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just have a couple things that I want to go over. First, in reference to tonight's memorial service at the 9/11 memorial outside of the library, there's a few people that I'd like to thank. Several have been thanked already by some council members, but I just have a list here. First, the members of the clergy who participated, Imam Rizvi, Rabbi Garfinkel, Reverend Moninari, and Reverend Cully. Cub Scout Pack 195, the Franklin Township Police Department, the Somerset Fire and Rescue, the Franklin Township Fire Prevention Office, retired police officer Richard Allen, who is the bagpiper, but most importantly, and I do this every year after we have this event, I would like to thank Carl Hauk, our Public Works Manager, and our Public Works Department. As you all know up here, and some in the public I'm sure know as well, that monument was designed in-house and built in-house, and we're very, very proud of it, and they are very proud of it, and they have every reason to be. It is beautiful. It is somewhat spiritual in a way, and I think that people who come and visit it feel the same. I had an opportunity to speak with the husband of one of our victims of that tragedy tonight. He has been now there for each of the events, and he truly feels the same way. And when you look at the picture of that little girl who's now nearing adulthood, it's 16 years ago, it is spiritual. So I thank the Public Works Department and Carl for building such a beautiful thing for us. Okay, so enough of the teary-eyed, and I'll move on. Farmers Market. The last Farmers Market here at our corner will be held this upcoming Saturday. It has been a very successful event every Saturday that it's been held. The last Farmers Market will be the following Saturday at the Franklin Day Festival. So we have two more, one here at the corner of Amwell and DeMott, and one at Franklin Day Festival. So if you haven't had an opportunity to visit the Farmers Market, I encourage you to do that.
Clever idea.
And then, not to steal Mr. Mayor's thunder, but he always seems to forget this, even though he was the brainchild behind it. Walk and Roll 4th Annual North in East Millstone, from East Millstone down to Butler Road, will be held this Sunday, 9/17, from 10 to 4. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming up with that idea. And let's see what else. Okay, so now to answer one question. I always seem, since even before I was the manager, to have these things that just last forever and won't go away. Middlebush Park being the thing that will never end for me. Mr. Guy has left the house here, but I will answer his question. We are so close to being able to say there's nothing more to be done. The concession stand, for argument's sake, is complete. All of those things that we can do are done. There has been a number of issues with getting adequate power from DeMott Lane into the park. There is now a pad-mounted transformer that was installed, I guess, the end of last week by Public Service. The service needed to be increased in the park to provide adequate service to the building. I am being told, and I am keeping my fingers crossed, of course, the Hurricane Irma and a convoy of public service trucks headed south doesn't help this, but I'm being told that all of the power issues will be resolved by the end of the week, and that building will have full power as it should. And that means that we can say, for argument's sake, that the park is now complete. So that's my update on Middlebush Park. And I think that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We are now on to item number 9, council discussion items, 2017 flood mitigation status report. Back to you, Mr. Manager.
So you all have the report, and it's rather lengthy, and it's an annual report that is simply a requirement of ours to file. What I'll say is, if you have questions after having reviewed it, please send them to me, and I'll have the answers for those questions at the next council meeting. What I can tell you is that through our efforts to mitigate the flood conditions in our floodplains, we actually have seen an improvement in our score. It's part of the agenda. It's part of the agenda.
All that's in the agenda as I've received it is those agenda item headings.
No,
I've not been able to
I'm
get
reading
the
it, I'm
report.
reading it on the agenda right here. I have it up on my computer. There's the full 8 or 10-page report from Scott Thomas.
Well, it would be nice to be able to get it ahead of the meeting.
It was part of the agenda that went out on Friday, Councilman. That's how the agenda items go out. I understand.
I tried every way, and I did not get it. All I got was these headings that say agenda item.
Okay, so there seems to be a glitch of some type. We'll make sure the clerk will get you the item, and you can still ask your questions, of course, at any time.
And again, this is one of those issues where the report goes out and you formulate your questions and I provide them to the engineering department and I get the answers. What I was about to say, though, is on the progress report that was filed by Mr. Thomas from the engineering department, the summary of that report notes one important thing, and that is that our score has improved based on the efforts that we have made. Our rating has gone from a 7 to a 6 after the initial 5-year reevaluation of the CRS program performed in 2014. The new ranking became effective in 2015, and what the ranking means is that our residents now will have a increased reduction in their flood insurance for those who are required to have flood insurance. So we are making efforts towards the report. So the report, and like I said, I'm looking at it now. If it's not part of your agenda, I don't know why, and perhaps Anne Marie and IT can look at your method of retrieving the agendas.
Okay.
So that's that.
Thank you, sir. And then back to you again
Back to
on
me again.
authorities and fire districts.
So in the State Division of Local Government Services, Local Finance Board annually publishes a series of questions that are sent to municipalities to answer, referred to as best practices. One of the best practices is for municipalities to annually have as a discussion item on a council agenda authorities and agencies and fire districts, if towns have any or all of those. We have all. We have an agency, the redevelopment agency. We have authorities, the sewage authority and the housing authority, and we have 4 fire districts. Generally, there is in some municipalities there has been some abuse within those organizations. We have not experienced that problem here in Franklin Township. From the management point of view, my recommendation to all of you is that we don't have issues with our authorities and agencies to then consider a takeover of those particular agencies and authorities and fire districts. We have good lines of communication with all of them. I think they provide valuable services in their respective areas. The redevelopment, all of those organizations have council representation in some fashion or another for council oversight. Redevelopment agency certainly has 2 members on it. The Board of Fire Prevention, which is comprised of members from all 4 fire districts, has council membership on the Board of Fire Prevention. Certainly there's representation on the Sewage Authority and the Housing Authority as well. I am not aware of any issues whatsoever in the management of any of those organizations. So that's my recommendation as your manager. If there's any discussion or questions, I'm open.
Any discussion from council? Being
There's also a requirement for our rating.
Well, in particular, this is for the best practices worksheet. And the best practices worksheet, I think it's, we try to have adhere to those best practices as best we can. This is certainly a conversation. This conversation is in a public setting, which is a requirement of the state for us to be able to be in the affirmative on that particular question. However, these questions are certainly discussed, these issues are discussed at various committee meetings of council as well, outside of the public in the standing committees as necessary. And like I said, they're also discussed because we have council members that sit on all of these agencies and committees. So this is not something that we could ever be accused of not paying attention to. We certainly pay attention to all of it. I think if you read the newspapers, you see that in certain places, things have been left to run amok, and they have issues. That's not the case here. But it's still, we want to be able to say yes to as many of our best practices on that sheet because it also affects state aid. So we're discussing it tonight.
Thank you. So, breaking news, no muck in Franklin. No muck. Moving on to item number 10, approval of the minutes. I present the following minute notes for approval by the Township Council. A, Township Council Work Session Regular Meeting, July 11th, 2017, 7 p.m., and the same type of meeting on August 8th, 2017, at 7 p.m. Also an executive session on August 8th, 2017, and a special meeting on August 16th, 2017, at 7 p.m. Do I have
Motion for passage.
moved and seconded? Any discussion? Anyone wishing to withdraw from any particular? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Abstain from the ones on the 8th, yes to all others.
Deputy Mayor Wright.
Item number 11, approval of the warrants. This is how we pay our bills. Warrants in the amount of $30,179,071.85 on September 12th, 2017 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do I have a motion?
I move that the warrants is read be paid.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the warrants, questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright.
Item number 12 is our adoption of ordinances on a second reading. Ordinances are read twice. The first reading is essentially an announcement to the public that we will be adopting an ordinance or voting on an ordinance, and the second reading allows the public to speak on the ordinance. We have ordinance 4209-17, an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 226, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 226-30, on street handicap parking space, delete 234 Phillips Road and add 146 Bear Avenue. The public hearing has been noticed and is required and is in order for public hearing.
Motion for public hearing.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second for public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are open to the public on this discussion. Anyone wishing to come forward, please state their name and address.
Mayor, seeing no one come forward from the public, a motion to close the public portion of the
Seconded.
hearing on this ordinance.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed on this item. Do we have a motion on the item itself?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? So what this item is about is just a person with a dedicated handicap spot is moving, and we are moving the spot for that person. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright.
We are now on to the consent agenda. Items A through AM as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I know that Deputy Mayor Wright wishes to pull item AI. Is that for discussion or to be voted on separately? Councilman Wright. Do you want to discuss that or pull it for a separate vote?
Discussing. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm doing something else. This resolution is for a special events permit for the Sisters Network of New Jersey, and every year they do a 5K race, breast cancer awareness race and walk for life on October the 7th, 2017, from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Colonial Park. And the reason why I asked the mayor to allow me the opportunity to talk about them is that they do great work over there in helping to support women with breast cancer in this particular area, central New Jersey. It's a worthwhile endeavor, and I would like everyone to come out and to support the Sisters Network of Central Jersey. Our own Miss Kimberly Francois, you're still a director of the association, and I know she's out there bright and early in the morning to set up. So I just want to applaud her for lending her voice to the Sisters Network. You have anything you want to say on that issue?
No, I also attended the fish fry last Friday.
They
It was-
sold out.
And they sold out.
They sold out the fish
They
fry.
didn't get any fish, but I did donate.
I knew she went to one of these things. But on a serious note, definitely come out and to support. Again, even if you don't have breast cancer, and if, I don't wish that on anyone, come on out and to support Sisters Network. Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Sherman, do you want to discuss item AM, the plaque in?
Yes, thank you very much. Pickleball, which is an odd word, and most people had no idea what it was when we were first asked to dedicate some space within the community for pickleball. It was a program that was very popular with retirees in Florida, and several of the snowbirds from my community got addicted to it. It's a smaller court with paddles, geared to keep people from running as much. And it's actually, I understand some youth programs are there for pickleball. So it's not just made for the seniors, but the seniors grabbed onto it. And the one gentleman in my community, Ken Blinn, was very, very instrumental in making this all happen. And he has since passed on, and several of the members of the community have asked if we could dedicate put a plaque up in his name, and that is on the consent agenda. So it is to thank him in memoriam for all the work that he did to help bring this sport to Franklin Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
No, I just want to say thank you, Councilwoman Sherman, because I wasn't sure what that was about. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, the attorney couldn't recall that we did have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella? Deputy Mayor Wright?
So we are now on to item number 15, resolutions to be voted on separately. These are resolutions that came to us after the initial packets were sent out to us electronically. Resolutions number 17-377 and 378, as listed on the agenda, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. So resolution 17-377 is to extend a special events permit, Clarion Hotel Hooters Classic Car Show, Sundays, September 10, 2017 through October 29, 2017, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. parking lot of the Clarion Hotel. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright.
Item number 1738, award bid integration program services for SCADA, SCADA, Allied Control Services, amount not to exceed $112,125. Hourly rate for services not included in specification, $118 per hour. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion?
Can I ask what
So
what is this?
So what the SCADA program or system is basically a computer system that controls our water distribution.
Oh.
I had a long discussion with Mr. Hauk about this because I called him to say, so what do we have to prevent, as people know, we lost water, or people lost water in Houston. How are we backed up about this? And we had a discussion about the SCADA program, and we have backup upon backup upon backup. Of course, nothing is foolproof and failure-proof, but I got a nice little address on it, and I'm pretty happy to report that we have generators and other systems ready to go. So I consider this an extremely important addition. Any other discussion?
Just one more thing to add. So what this is, we have one now.
Right.
It is very outdated. And the system that is proposed here, and this was one of our capital projects this year, so you heard about this at budget time. What this is the beginning of us being able to automate our water utility system so that we can open and close valves remotely, so that we can better optimize the system, so that we can buy water in the amounts that we should be buying them from the providers that we buy from, so that we can optimize it for money reasons as well, for cost. So that's what this is all about.
Any other discussion or questions? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright.
Item number 16, old business, boards and commissions. Do we have any nominations?
No nominations, but we do have a vacancy on Housing Authority. Just want to put that out there.
Any of you out there on these commissions who haven't gotten in your financial disclosure reports, time is running out. Item number 17, executive session, we have none. And item number 18, adjournment. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Be well, Franklin.